Good evening. I'm Patricia Malone with a CTV News update. With the Maryland General Assembly set to convene later this week, Governor Larry Hogan says he plans to introduce emergency legislation to help ease the economic pain caused by the pandemic. At a news conference this morning, Hogan called the Relief Act of 2021 his top legislative priority of the upcoming session. The measure would provide more than $1 billion in immediate and targeted financial relief to Marylanders in need. It includes tax relief for residents who lost their jobs due to the pandemic by repealing state income taxes on unemployment benefits. Restaurants and small businesses will also see significant tax relief under the measure.
We will be introducing the Relief Act of 2021 as emergency legislation on day one of the session on Wednesday. We will ask both houses of the legislature to act on it immediately so that I can sign it into law immediately and that these relief measures can take effect and we can immediately get these much needed dollars out the door and into the pockets of those who desperately need it.
Hogan says while the Relief Act of 2021 is much needed, so far more than 700,000 Marylanders have received nearly $9 billion in unemployment benefits. Maryland continues to go down a dangerous path regarding the coronavirus. The State Health Department reports more than 3,000 new confirmed cases in the last 24 hours. The agency also reports 29 COVID deaths. Currently, more than 1,900 residents are hospitalized with the disease. Here in Prince George's, more than 60,000 residents have tested positive for COVID-19. Democrats in the House have introduced an article of impeachment against President Trump. The president faces a single charge of incitement of insurrection. It comes just days after the deadly attack at the Capitol, where Trump supporters stormed the building. The resolution could see a vote by midweek. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Democrats gave Vice President Mike Pence an ultimatum: get rid of Trump using the 25th Amendment, or Democrats would impeach Trump for a second time. That resolution was blocked today by Republicans. 6 people have died in connection with the insurrection by Trump supporters, including 2 police officers. Former Capitol Police Chief Stephen's son says 2 days before Congress was set to certify the Electoral College votes, he grew increasingly worried about the size of pro-Trump crowds expected in D.C. According to the Washington Post, Son asked House and Senate security officials for permission to place the D.C. National Guard on standby, but was denied. Dozens of people have been arrested as authorities continue their probe of the riots. U.S. Capitol Police move forward with new leadership following the deadly attack on Congress. Yogananda Pittman has been appointed acting chief of police. Pittman joined the U.S. Capitol Police Force back in 2001 and has moved up the ranks. As acting police chief, she will retain her role as head of protective and intelligence operations. Pittman earned her undergraduate degree from Morgan State University and received her master's from Marist College. A local leader is calling out U.S. Capitol Police for its handling of the domestic attack on the Capitol. State's Attorney Aisha Brave Boy, like millions of Americans, watched the siege on Congress. Brave Boy describes the riots as a display of white supremacy and white privilege.
Unfortunately, what we saw on display was white privilege, and not just from the protesters, but also from law enforcement that was responding. I think there was a failure in leadership. I think it is appropriate that the chief of the Capitol Police resigned because if not, he should have been fired. Because it was a complete breakdown of everything that they have been taught in order to protect the public and to protect the members of Congress and the staff in the Capitol.
Brave Boy is serving her first term as Prince George's state's attorney. Big Tech takes action against President Trump for his role in the failed coup last week at the U.S. Capitol. Twitter has permanently banned Trump from its social media app and removed his tweet history, citing the risk that he could incite further violence. Facebook and Instagram have locked his account until at least the presidential inauguration on January 20th. Google and Apple have removed the far-right app Parler from their stores, and Amazon says it will no longer host it on cloud. Shopify also permanently took down Trump's campaign merchandise store, and PayPal deactivated an account that raised money for Trump's supporters. Residents escaped a Marlow Heights house fire this morning. The blaze started just before 5 a.m. in the 2400 block of Kenton Place. That's where crews found a two-story duplex with fire showing from a second-floor window. One adult was transported to a nearby hospital with serious but non-life-threatening injuries. And police are also investigating a homicide in the Cheverly area. Officers arrived at the 3400 block of 55th Avenue about 8 this morning, and that's where they found an adult male suffering from trauma. The victim was pronounced dead on the scene. Anyone with information on the incident is asked to call Crime Solvers. That number, 1-866-411-TIPS. You're watching CTV News. I'm Patricia Vallone. We'll be back in just a moment.
No, it's so sad. It's not.
Sentencing for Sean Urbanski, the former University of Maryland student who was found guilty of murdering a black Bowie State student in 2017, will be held this week. 25-year-old Urbanski was found guilty of first-degree murder for the May 2017 stabbing death of Second Lieutenant Richard Collins as he was hanging out with friends at the University of Maryland. Collins was murdered 3 days before he was set to graduate from Bowie State University. Urbanski faces life behind bars when he's sentenced on Thursday. GameStop, Modell's Sporting Goods, JCPenney, those are just a few of the many retailers that declared bankruptcy or closed outright due to the pandemic. In early fall, Yelp reported that 60% of business closures had become permanent. At the time, the Prince George's Chamber of Commerce reported that 1/4 of businesses in the county had shut down, but that number has dramatically increased, according to the organization's CEO. Hardest hit are small, minority-owned businesses and the hospitality industry.
Businesses are losing up to 60 to 70% of their revenue given COVID and unable to stay open. And we anticipate that at least 1/3 of the hospitality industry may have to close permanently in Prince George's County.
So that number would be up then. We're talking, what we heard a few months ago was 25%. You're saying 1/3.
I'm saying 1/3 at least. And I think particularly, like the smaller, not so much the chain restaurants per se, but some of the sort of independent proprietor shops that you see are in trouble.
Harrington says the challenge will be to find employment for all the workers who have permanently lost their jobs. He says the good news is that the construction industry has survived well during the crisis. Governor Larry Hogan includes teachers in Phase 1B of the COVID-19 vaccination plan. Hogan made that announcement last week. He says it's an effort to speed up vaccine rollout in Maryland. School board member Shayla Adams Stafford says it's an important step to eventually reopen schools.
For our students, it's going to be imperative that their parents feel safe when we do open schools, that teachers have gotten the vaccination. And I think for a lot of educators, many want to go back into the classroom, but want to be protected.
I think those folks in the healthcare community are getting it together so that those doses may not be available for educators. And, we will see this play out, but that's why it's important that let's just leave it at distance learning until we can get these things worked out.
Hogan says the state is expected to enter Phase 1 by the end of the month. Prince George's County Executive Angela Alsobrooks names a new chair for the Board of Education. Former state delegate Juanita Miller has been named to succeed Dr. Alvin Thornton. Miller has worked as an administrator for the D.C. and Prince George's school districts. She also served on the county's NAACP and Top Ladies of Distinction Legislative Committee. Meantime, Alsobrooks says that current board member Sonia Williams will take over as the vice chair of the Board of Education. As the pandemic continues, are you questioning your marriage? Well, a Prince George's author might be able to help. This is Carolyn Tatum. She's the author of Marriage from A to Z, which gives couples the principles to maintain a relationship. Tatum says as more couples are spending time at home, it's important to make sure they're actually spending time with each other.
think before the pandemic, we were used to being on different schedules and maybe not spending as much time with each other because just the way our schedules were. And so now you have couples, some where both are working out of the home. And so it's important that you have your work area spaces in your home, and then you have time where we are going to actually come together and connect as a couple. We're going to have a meal together, or we're going to have a discussion.
Tatum has more advice on her blog. For more information, you can visit carolyntatum.com. On to sports, where we're going to the NFL. The Baltimore Ravens move on in the playoffs. The Ravens, led by Lamar Jackson, defeated the Titans 20-13 yesterday. After falling behind 10-0, Jackson sparked a comeback win with a 48-yard touchdown score.
When we get in crucial situations, keep our eyes on the prize, stay focused. When we get on third down situations, let's get the first down. We was really just not trying to put our defense on the field because like those guys were just doing their job, like doing their thing today, just flat out, just ball hawking, playing great run defense, and we just had to score points, and we get to the red zone, we gotta finish, and that's just been our motto ever since, the last loss we had, during the regular season.
Now, for me, this is the best win ever. And not just because of what was at stake, but because of the guys and what it meant to our team and to our guys, what it meant to all of our guys. This may be the best one I've ever been associated with. Defensive effort, like you said, it was discipline, it was eyes on your luggage, it was finishing, it was running to the ball, it was tackling. Up front, our defensive line did a phenomenal job against their very good offensive line. So we got them stopped a lot of times before he got started. Those things came into play.
The Ravens take on the Buffalo Bills in round 2 of the playoffs next Saturday. And closer to home, the offseason begins for the Washington football team. After a roller coaster regular season, Washington made it to the playoffs against Tampa Bay this weekend. They performed valiantly, but came up short, losing to Tampa Bay 31-23. Despite the loss, players are optimistic about the future.
We went to the playoffs. It didn't go the way we wanted to, but everybody on this team knows we have something to build on and know what we can, what we can do. And next year, it's our chance to prove that. So, I know the guys gonna be fired up.
Like you said, we played with a lot of QBs, a lot of injuries, and to just go through all that adversity and still get to where we are. We don't need nobody to pat us on the back. We know what we got to do, and we know that we got a special group.
Guys weren't just satisfied with, just making the playoffs or just winning the division. Guys want to get, past that. And to get past that, Coach Brewer's been there. He's been to the top of the mountain. He's won it. And he's been there several times. So for us, we got a taste of it. So going forward, we understand we're going to have to get better. We're going to have to work harder.
We never gave up. Coach Rivera wanted to come in and change the culture, and he did. I absolutely love him. I absolutely love playing for him. I respect the heck out of him, and to see how he coached us, through everything that he was going through, it was just amazing to see that and very inspiring.
To have a couple of veteran guys tell me that this was the most fun they'd had, that, it was amazing how we were able to keep our focus on football, how good that was. I mean, this group, I will remember this year more for the guys, the players, than I will for any other reason, I think, because of how mentally tough these guys were.
Let's get a quick check now on our 3-day weather forecast. Tonight, mostly cloudy with a low around 28 degrees. Tuesday and Wednesday, sunny with daytime temps in the upper 40s, dropping to the low 30s in the evening. Thursday, mostly sunny with a high near 50 and a low around 35. And now for your community calendar, get ready to get your soccer game on from home. Enter the Winter Virtual Soccer Clubhouse to build your soccer skills, discuss strategy, play games, and more. The event is this Wednesday, January 13th from 6 until 7 p.m. for children ages 9 to 13. For more information, call 301-445-4508. And that wraps up our newscast for the evening. Be sure to tune in tomorrow, same time, same place. Have a great night.